Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 78th episode of the Talking with the Dad podcast this evening. Single topic episode, classic Monday special. It's a good show. Steve is turning into a polar bear of some sorts. It's very.
Don't give polar bears Coca-Cola; it makes them violent.
Is that a thing?
Huh?
Is that a truth?
I would assume they have no exposure to caffeine, right? You give them a Coke, that's bound to make them a little more wound up.
Is there caffeine in apples? I guess polar bears probably don't have apples either.
No. I was like, what? A lot of apples in the North Pole, the crisp kind. Honeycrisp apples.
Polar bears in the North Pole? Aren't they in Alaska?
Alaska, North Pole. Where's Santa Claus at? Technically, where would he be geographically? Like, where's the best place to keep millions of elves hidden from the world?
China.
Good point, man. Good point. Single topic episode, but I feel as if though we may go all over the map, even if it's short. There are a few things I wanted to scream at you about. Not that you've done, but I just want to scream about them in general.
Okay.
I know we talked about it pre-show, recorded show, but I feel like it's worth putting on the record forever. Mike Tyson won that fight. You all know he won that fight, and there's never been a clearer victor to a fight in boxing in quite some time, man. I did not watch the event. I know you didn't watch either, Zach.
Nope.
I could not afford to give these people whoever they are
$50.
Yeah, they weren't getting that. I've never heard of this company before. It sounds like they probably keep charging me after the event.
Yeah.
So I opted out. I didn't do any other shenanigans either, but I did watch the recap. And so Mike has clearly lost a step. We already established that in the pre-live show. But man, if I look half as that good, having lost a step, I would never be scared to go anywhere. This is an old man that clearly does a lot of yoga. He's a dangerous man. He was still getting his head off that center line quicker than anything I've ever seen. Like, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I think they did have one last talk with Mike before the fight, and they're like, exhibition. No knockout rule. And he's just sitting there chewing on a picture of Roy Jones. Roy Jones looked every bit of his age.
Yeah. I mean, it was two old dudes punching each other, man. It was two dudes over 50 punching each other, both clearly ex-professional boxers, right? Yes. That's just what it was. And that's what we all expected for it to be. I don't see how expectations were or were not met. I felt like it was pretty par for the course.
Yeah, did really well. Apparently, did really well. I don't know what's well.
I don't know what well is. Yeah, I don't know.
Paul Logan knocked some guy out.
Who?
Is it Paul? Which Logan brother is it? Paul Logan, Jake Logan. Which one is it that fought?
It was YouTuber. Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. Yeah, Paul Logan, Jake Paul, King Titus.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't care. I don't like the Paul brothers. Never have. They weren't funny on Vine. Then they went into the whole YouTube shenanigans and never been a fan.
I will get
knocked out the ex-professional basketball player Nate Robinson. Cold with an overhand right.
Yes. Not bad of an overhand right. Pretty sloppy, but pretty good for an amateur.
Yeah,
I have to give the guy respect. You got to give both guys respect. Anytime you show up in a full contact combat sport, you get my respect just for showing up, just for stepping in the ring, the octagon, on the mat, or in the backyard where you're doing some YouTube live show.
This was just the same quality.
As long as it's not wrestling, you got my respect. I even have respect for the wrestlers too, man, because I know that's dangerous, and I would never say it to one of their faces at the airport. Like, I would never walk up to The Rock and smack him and be like,
"Wow, The Rock is different." That man is the size of 3 normal men. So I agree. He flies his fucking his gym around with him around the world, which is the most wasteful, ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
American. I love it.
Very American. Hawaiian, actually.
I love it. Oh, he's not
Samoan.
Yeah.
Polynesian. He's Polynesian. Yeah, Samoan.
Man,
his uncles were the Samoan brothers, or I think in wrestling, right?
Were they called the Samoan brothers?
I think when they tag teamed, they were. Yeah.
I think his dad was quite possibly one of the funniest wrestlers ever. Like, that man was best Jerry curl in the business. If you ever look at the picture, his funeral was beautiful, man. It's the type of funeral you hope you have. You're like, I hope all my buddies show up. I hope they're sober for the good first half of the funeral, and I hope my son says something nice. You can't go any better than that, man. Pro dad fights, to be fair. Yes. Now here's what I do want to talk to you about, right? Do we get Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield? Technically, we shouldn't get it, right? Because Tyson came out losing in that fight and he bit the air off to stay in the fight. But man, wouldn't it be interesting to see the king of Red Lobster versus Mike Tyson one last time for $20? If it was $20 even, no tax included.
Wait, no tax. who's the king of Red Lobster?
Oh, Evander Holyfield. You didn't know this?
You know Red Lobster's out of business, right?
What funny story about Evander Holyfield and Red Lobster. His business manager was someone who ran a few Red Lobster franchises, and Evander Holyfield brought him in to handle his finances, and it went as well as you think it should.
Sounds like it went awful.
But he owned a bunch of Red Lobsters, and that's what people called him. They called him the king of Red Lobster for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Would you make fun of him to his face? Like, hey, Evander.
Right now? Probably.
Yeah. Probably.
I think I can outrun him right now.
I don't think that you could outrun Evander Holyfield, though, is the thing.
You want to bet?
I think right now,
this moment, I can outrun Evander Holyfield.
Off the couch, right now, you could take him
out off the couch.
What do I get when he tackles you and starts making you eat Red Lobster he's been carrying around with him forever?
Nothing. You don't get anything. You get nothing, sir. You get nothing. I said good day.
I'll come help you, though, for sure, if you call me. Like, Steve, Evander's in the front yard. He's challenging me to another foot race. I'd be out there in a second to help you.
Well, I don't need help in a foot race. I would be fine.
I think you do. What's the fastest you, like? Well, you played baseball, so yeah, I guess you got a good sprint.
I played baseball. I ran cross country.
Did you run cross country?
I played soccer. Yeah.
Oh man, you probably could take Evander now.
I would say I would probably just have to get a mile, right? Like, I don't know how fast I can run a mile now. It would be not great, but at some point I did it in like 7-ish minutes.
That's actually pretty impressive.
Not in the high school that I went to. Not in the high school that I went to. The high school that I went to, they started approaching 4-minute miles by junior year. So
here's the thing, Zach, man. I love you like a brother, man. And I want to believe that you would outrun Evander Holyfield. But if you didn't outrun him, promise me you wouldn't say a bunch of mean stuff thinking that you can outrun him. Just like, you're an old fat man.
He's 58.
Would you pay to see him fight Mike Tyson one more time? What's a number you would pay?
No, I wouldn't pay. No. I wouldn't. I have no interest. I didn't pay for this one, right? This would be the better fight, right? The Tyson Roy Jones Jr. would be the better fight versus the. I just don't want to see people over 50 fight each other. I don't care.
Well, you just hurt the feelings of 85% of the fighting team over there at Bellator. They're like, oh man,
none of them are over 50.
Like, we got Royce Gracie versus Rampage coming up here pretty soon.
Rampage is like 38.
Did you see Ken Shamrock versus Royce Gracie?
He's 42. Ken Shamrock? I know who Ken Shamrock is, barely. He's 56. That's disgusting.
Ken Shamrock is not a man I would trifle with at any age.
I agree.
It just seems like he comes into McDonald's and has an episode like everything's going well at the when he's ordering his food. It's just like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. We have to go pick that. Pick? Did you say ankle pick? I'm sorry. I just went off on a tangent there, man. Yeah, it was two old guys fighting, but even Dana said that he had to give Mike, because everyone was really worried about Mike in this scenario. I don't know why you would be worried about it.
They're both 50-something years old.
Yeah, I guess people were more worried about Mike Tyson's mental state, knowing how he is going into a fight, but he did extremely well. He didn't, no one got hurt.
Right.
No one got attacked in the post-fight conference. Everything
as they awkwardly interviewed both of them at the same time. I hate when they do that, dude. They did that recently with Nico Price and Cowboy in the UFC, and it was just dumb.
Shout out to Jose in the chat. He just said the weigh-in looked like two drunk Dios about to fight at a quinceañera. Very true. Very true. Here's the thing about Roy Jones Jr., man. I was not his biggest fan when I was a young guy. I've always appreciated him as a fighter. I just wasn't huge on him. I didn't like the rap album. He was in The Matrix. I thought that was pretty cheesy. But, man, it is true. The more high impact an athlete is, the more dynamic and explosive. These are the words they usually assign to these type of fighters when they can't. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of fluff. But all of that stuff, man, when it starts to go, it really, really, you start to realize how heavily they leaned on their physical attributes to be able to do the things they did. Like Roy Jones being able to step back out of the way of a punch requires a lot of muscle memory and a lot of muscle dexterity.
Fast twitch muscle. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
he does not have anymore.
I wonder when the last time he truly trained was. You know, that's the question. When was the last time he truly, when did he retire? Right. That's, you know, I'd have to know that. When was the last time he truly trained? And that's when he would know, right? Like he hasn't trained in 15 years. And obviously after 15 years, that step back motion is going to be a lot more labored than what it was prior. It's, you know, they're in a very difficult sport. They're old guys doing it. It's interesting. You know, but it wasn't interesting enough for me to spend $50 to watch it. It wasn't worth that. And you have a YouTuber versus a former basketball player as your co-main, right? Like, who cares? Who cares? It's not $50 for me. I don't know how many people spent $50 on it, but I hope they would think they got their money's worth out of it. There's many free streaming sites that you could have gone to instead.
Oh man, people were sending me stuff. Shout out to the people that were to Wilson for trying to hook me up. But here's the crazy thing: you're absolutely right. But the problem is, enough people bought it, just like enough people bought the first bare knuckle pay-per-view, that they're gonna keep doing this. Pretty soon, Street Beefs is gonna have their own freaking pay-per-view.
They'd probably put on better cards.
Not that we're disparaging Street Beef. We support the Street Beef channel over here. We love those guys.
We do.
I was watching Street Beefs last night, and to be honest with you, it's probably a cleaner fight on the Street Beefs I was watching last night than what's the kid's name? Say it for me again. Jake Paul? Is that his name? Did I get it right?
I think so.
All right. One of them had a failed show that was supposed to be like the crook version of ridiculousness. It had one episode. I'm not sure if it was a pilot or a gag, but it literally had.
Was it on TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been around the time that he posted that video about the suicide forest in Japan, and everything that that the brothers did got canceled. So,
oof. I'm sorry. It's just like to think that like you can make one great episode and lose everything in one fair swoop. What? This is why you need spotters in your career, right? You need spotters.
We had this conversation when not me and you, but everyone collectively had this conversation when that happened. They're like, who okayed this? Because he doesn't do his own editing, right? He sends his footage off to an editor. The editor does it. He okays it. Who okayed that at the end? And that's where the question was. And that's why, you know, being surrounded by people who only say yes to the things that you do is really bad for your life. That was just one solid example of it. And then they started boxing, so no one cares anymore.
Crazy thing about boxing, right? And people transitioning into boxing. We got to keep this type of stuff regulated. Like, so as we're talking about who approved this, what we need to make sure never happens, that he never steps in the ring or gets pumped up enough on his skill where he steps in with someone who's even had slightly better than a mediocre amateur career, because then he could really get hurt. Now,
but it won't happen though, right? So like you're thinking in the hypothetical in which it would happen. That will not happen. Both Jake and Logan Paul will continue to fight other YouTubers and other celebrity figures that will do that, right?
Unless the payday is good enough.
No. So I don't think that'll get sanctioned anywhere. I don't think it will possibly get sanctioned, right? But they're not going to fly to the Philippines to do this. You know, when they fought KSI and the other, they're not. It's not worth the money to do it, right? Because these guys, when they had done it previously, are putting on their own promotion, right? They're the ones paying to rent out the Staples Center. They're the ones paying to put on their promotion. They're the ones paying to do everything. They're not making a crazy amount of money on that, right? And I think the first one they sold for a $5 pay-per-view, right?
Was it $5? That's outrageous. That's a good price. I was all.
But that's what I'm saying. You know, even at $1 million or 1 million sales, that's $5 million. You know, how much is the Staples Center stuff? You know, to pay to have the medical staff there. How much is that all going to cost you? Right? You have to, you know, pay the other guys to be there. Like, it's just not going to be an insane, inordinate amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. As you were saying that, I was like, you know what? I wonder if anyone's listed the PPV buys for this last shenanigan here, but I wouldn't even know how to go about looking up that company's revenue. The thing about about the Paul kid, right? And someone stepping in there, the fact that they were able to find CM Punk a second fight in the UFC makes me think that anything's possible. Now, I get what you're saying. Business-wise, it's not going to get sanctioned by any governing body, but it doesn't have to be if it's going to be an exhibition match, which is the crazy thing. It could quite literally,
right? I believe. You said exhibition, right? But wouldn't they have to have headgear on?
Yes, they would.
So that's different, right? Yeah. They didn't have headgear on for this fight, so technically it's either an amateur or a professional fight, right? Which was sanctioned because one is an 0-0 former NBA dunk contest champion, and one is a YouTuber who was 1-0 in his fight career. Like, that's the reason it got sanctioned.
I'd have to look. I'm gonna have to do some research on the governing bodies and the sanctioning, because I know the one thing that will get you disqualified instantly is they think that your health is not up to par. I have to look into it, depending on which state it is and where they're going.
I think it was California, right?
Was it in California?
I think it was CSAC.
That godless place. But the fact of the matter is, we're both saying the same thing. It shouldn't happen. It should not happen. I don't care if it's a guy that's gotten beaten 20 times in his golden career.
Right, but he fought at an amateur level where these guys have not. That's why I'm saying I don't think it'll ever happen. What they want to do is they want to do the most viral thing that they can do, and fighting a amateur boxer is not the most viral thing that you could do. Fighting another 10 million, 15, 20 million subscriber YouTube channel is that, right? That's where they're going to make their money. That's where they're going to get the hype. That's where the videos leading up to that are going to make them their money. They're not going to make money by fighting some no-name amateur boxer.
I think so. If we're just playing the hypothetical game here, I think it all depends on promotion and marketing, because I think people really do like to see things escalate, like they do. It's, you know, I really believe that people believe that, like,
sure,
is there a chance I'm going to get to see unbridled violence and possibly watch someone get hurt? Is there an appetite for that type of stuff? Okay. Well, yeah,
sure.
Look at Jackass.
What?
Look at ridiculousness.
Yeah, no, both fantastic. I love them both. What is the demographic for a Jake Paul video/fight? What do you think the demographic is?
No, 100%. But once we're talking about a crossover event, you're not aiming at your key demographic anymore. You're looking to get different buys. Hold on. Mm-hmm. Let me just pitch it to you. Let me pitch it to you, and know that I agree with you. It should not happen. But we're both trying to quantify idiots here. So this is it's a losing game. It's a losing game. But if there is an appetite for people to say, hey, this guy has fought other YouTubers, and we're sick about hearing him fight other YouTubers, and he thinks that he's really doing real boxing, there is an appetite to see people get embarrassed.
Sure.
That's what the Tough Man contest was all about. Which, by the way, all those Tough Men contests where, you know, Butterbean and all those psychopaths came from, those were all sanctioned fights, by the way.
Yeah,
like most of those.
Yeah, were all. And Butterbean had legit power. Here's the difference, though. Here's what you're not understanding, right? And I ask you about what the demographic was. The demographic is so young that they want to see them fight other YouTubers. Like amateur boxing, no boxing fan cares about a Jake Paul fight, right? You could not sell a boxing fan a Jake Paul versus an amateur fight. You could not. You would sell 20,000 copies of it, right? But what you want to do is you want to sell 5 million copies at $5 a piece to every fucking 15-year-old hype beast that's on YouTube. That's where your money is. That's what you're going to sell to. You're not like, I understand. I would love to see him fight an amateur boxer because it would be funny to see what the difference in skill gap would be. But that's us. We're fight fans, right? We're not pure boxing fans. We're not pure MMA fans. We're fight fans, and there's a difference there, right? A pure MMA fan is gonna look at that as or a pure boxing fan is gonna look at that as a spectacle, right? And no one likes spectacles in boxing. They want it to be pure. They want it to be clean. They want it to be a challenger or a title holder versus number one challenger, in my opinion, right? I'm not huge in the boxing world. That's not the demographic they're going for. They're going for the people who are going to get excited about when Supreme releases another t-shirt. That's the demo they're going for.
That is 100.
And there is zero crossover in this Venn diagram. There is, you would sell 20,000 pay-per-views.
Listen, just hear me out, man. The appetite to watch someone get hurt, whether it's a pure pugilist fan or not, is extremely high. Now, I will go further and say I definitely I'm not advocating for this. I'm not. I've seen it happen a few other times, and the most notable one was McGregor versus Mayweather.
Spectacle.
Spectacle, but guess what? It wasn't just fair weather fans tuning in. We're talking about people who actually watch, digest, and consume boxing on a day-to-day basis,
right?
Tuned in to watch McGregor get his ass
to
kicked.
watch the highest accomplished striker at the time in the UFC that they know of, right? You know, we're not going to bring up Alistair Overeem versus Floyd Mayweather.
Hold on for a second. You and I both know Alistair Overeem is a saint.
Well, I'm saying he's the most accomplished striker in the UFC, right?
So it's funny if we went down that path for a second.
And again, McGregor fans are different demographic to what Jake Paul fans are. This is where I think I'm losing you, right? There is no one over the age of 15 who is a legitimate Jake Paul fan, right?
No, you're not losing. You're not losing me here. You're not losing me. What I'm saying is that I might be losing you because you're not taking into account the appetite that boxing fans and combat sport fans have
for
watch
violence.
Someone get in bed, to watch someone get hurt.
I get that.
Everything you're saying is I want to acknowledge and say everything you're saying is 100% true. And in a world that is ruled by logic, you know, up is up, down is down, 2 + 2 will never be greater than 4. What you're saying should be held at that same standard, right? That should be the absolute truth. But we're talking about the world here.
Sure.
We're talking about internet consumption. The craziest thing is once upon a time, Joe Louis, I believe it was, fought a short, stubby Italian man who owned a pizzeria. And I believe his boxing record, I'd have to go back and look it up, was probably like 0-1 or 1-0 or something like that. Needless to say, this is a man that should not be in with the person that people consider the greatest, not even boxer, but the greatest athlete of his time. Right? And everyone tuned in to see what this guy could do. Now, we're talking decades and decades ago, and you're absolutely right. Paul's fans are also watching that Worry About to Eat That kid on YouTube at the same time. But I really do think that, like, people, I was amazed by how many people showed up to watch that dude, I'm Tyrone, fight the other guy from YouTube. And it was real boxing fans. Like, I tuned in for a second. I'm like, wait, they have a real boxing announcer. Wait, that guy is a real boxing columnist. Like, he writes for a respected boxing journal.
Because those guys are going to get views out of it, right? The people around it don't legitimize it, in my opinion, because if a guy can write an article and get, 10 million clicks, even if it is from a spectacle, then he would do it, right?
This was print, by the way. I'm sorry. It's
right. If you get 10 million buys on your article, right? Whatever your magazine that you're writing in, it's a spectacle, right? That will sell to a reader. I don't think, and my bigger point here is the Paul brothers would never fight an amateur boxer for the reasons that I've laid out.
Amen.
Because it's not where the money is. Even as much as you want to say, it's not where the money is.
How much does stupid carry a person in this situation, you think?
What do you like? You have to give me an example here. How much is stupid carry? Like letting your ego take over on where logic should set in.
Yeah. Where fight or flight should kick in and say, clear and present danger, imminent death. I should probably turn around and go the other way. Because as we're talking about the subject, I'm thinking to myself, did Conor fool himself, or did he just know that I just got to do just enough?
Conor saw $100 million payday and didn't matter if he won or lost. That's what Conor saw, and Conor was about the money. That's logically a very. I would fight Floyd Mayweather for $100 million. Like,
I disagree. I think Conor actually thought that. Obviously, we're arguing a hypothetical, but I really think Conor. I think Conor really thought that he had a chance in the fight, and the only reason I think he thought he had a chance in the fight was he started going around scouting other boxers and going to boxing gyms. And I'm not just talking about like going to get a sparring session in. Like he was actually scouting fighters that have elusive styles, that kind of have a Philly shell roll to them. And I really do think that at one point he thought he was going to win that fight. Sure. In fact, everything, but I guess you got to be that way.
I think you have to be that way when you walk into a fight, right? I'm never going to walk into a fight and go, I'm going to lose this, right? Unless I'm getting paid $100 million to fight Floyd Mayweather, then I'll just take the same fall that the Japanese guy did.
Do you think he took a fall?
Dude, when was the last time you saw Floyd Mayweather walk someone down in the first round like that?
Conor McGregor.
He didn't walk him down in the first round. I asked, when did you see someone in the first round?
No. He did. Walk him down. He walked him down the entire fight. Now, if you're talking about finishing him in the first round, 100% Floyd did something in both those fights that he has not done since he was Pretty Boy Floyd.
Sure.
He walked both those guys down.
But that style that he fought with is not something he would fight another professional boxer with.
Oh, no. The last person he tried to do something like that with, and I don't know what was the thinking, but it was in the Maidana fight. And for a second, I noticed that he wasn't moving around. So a lot of people confuse Floyd. I'm not saying you. A lot of people confuse Floyd's lateral movement for running. That just shows you don't know anything about boxing. But he moves around and he's waiting for you to plant it. And then he'll plant and then he'll counter or wait for you to come in. I saw him do something against Maidana. When he did it, I instantly, when you're about to hit your butt bone as you're doing a rail, like the board is no longer underneath you, it just flew away and you're about to come down, both legs open on that rail. That is the exact feeling I had when Floyd tried to walk Maidana down. And I was like, well, this is obviously going to be hard.
Whoa. Yeah, no, I understand. It doesn't, I don't know. I don't want to see, I would never watch a Paul brother fight again. Not a fan of them. Haven't been since they were Vine stars back in the day, which is where they started truly. Now
if they went on Street Beefs, I'm there, man. If they would let us commentate a Street Beef fight,
they would definitely let us do that. You know that, right? We could like call that guy and be like, can we just like come down there and just like have a good time? And they're like, fuck yeah.
I'm not. We're not going anywhere. You can't be out around those, in that demographic, man. No one's gonna be wearing masks. I got to protect my buddy. I'm not gonna spend the entire fight fucking shooing people away from you. Like, get out of here. Get. Fuck away from him. Can't you see he's surrounded by glass? That means don't climb in the glass with him. But I think we would do a good job at commentating that stuff, even when it was to the point where they kind of hot mic on us. It's like, no, I asked for avocados.
There's no avocados in the state of Virginia.
I'm sorry, buddy. You know what's gonna be cool, man? When you can come over to the house again. I know I feel as if though this is the only way I know you is like over this freaking screen, like we're weird internet buddies or something.
Well, I kind of like it better this way.
It's true, man, because if you say something, I can't quite get to you, and I realize that if I drive over there now, it's considered a premeditated crime.
It is. So it is, especially when you put the diapers on to get over here, so you don't, have to stop on the way.
Man, I do have a weak bladder. I got to use the bathroom right now, even as we speak. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't put diapers on. I put my Depends on for you for sure. I would show you the respect you deserve. I want to keep all the body fluid in me when I'm fighting. Disgusting.
That's awful.
Anyway, we do have a topic for tonight. It is a interesting topic.
We do.
When Zach said it, I said, man, this is the most intelligent thing he's ever said. Now, true, that could be because it's something that I've thought about multiple times, and I'm a narcissist that way, but I thought it was extremely intelligent. I just want to know what brought you to the thought, and then I want you to explain your point of why you had the thought and why you think it's correct. Why don't you tell the people what you were thinking?
I think there should be more weight divisions in the UFC, ultimately, not just a cruiserweight.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was because I had to look up what weight cruiserweight was, right? That's ultimately what stemmed it. And it was like 225, and I'm like, yes. Why is there not a cruiserweight division in the UFC? right? But then that also is like, okay, well then why is it, 70 to 85 to 205, right? And it's like, okay, well, why isn't there a 90 in there? Why isn't there a 225? Why isn't there a 65? That's, I have a lot of questions like that, but that's, it just ultimately it's just one of them, and I'm tacking it onto the list.
I think the reason I've always felt like that they should kind of put these filler weight classes in the UFCs, first of all, it would eliminate something that I absolutely hate.
Catch weights.
Exactly. I cannot stand catch weight fights, right? Because not only are both fighters not getting what they deserve out of this, there's usually some weird pay decrease or bump, but then it doesn't really count for anything, right? So I beat you at 190. What does it matter in the rankings, right? It doesn't. Not if the rankings meant anything in the UFC.
They don't. They don't. To be fair,
but you know what I'm saying.
I just think there should be more weight classes.
So this is the way I've always envisioned breaking it down. So I'm just going from light heavyweight down. So we got 205. I definitely think that there should be a 195 weight class there. There should be a 195 weight class there because that also opens up the opportunity for a legitimate super fight belt. So when you have smaller light heavyweights who aren't a John Jones, say for instance, maybe they are like Anderson Silva technically could fight at light heavyweight comfortably and be a real natural light heavyweight. I think you put him at a 195
guy though, isn't he?
He walks around at like 220.
No, but I'm saying like height wise, isn't he like? Seems like he's like
he's like 6'1".
Is he really? He seems like he's on TV. Seems like he's 5'8".
That's because he's shrinking because he's old. That's why he's literally falling into himself. But imagine if you had a 195 division where you could have fighters who can't fight at light heavyweight, because technically light heavyweights are really heavyweights who don't want to compete with 265 guys. Sure. And I can prove this 100%. It's guys who maybe cap out at 240. Anything else is going to be fat and flub for them to fight a guy that's at 265.
Sure.
So they're willing to cut weight, come down to 205. Why push them through all of that stuff, dude? Like, here, you want to cut weight to get to 205? We have a division 195 where we want to start feeding in guys who are too big for middleweight. And then you have a legit division, dude. And then in between, I don't know if I'd put anything between middleweight and welterweight, but I definitely put something between welterweight and lightweight. It seems like a hell of a jump. I know it's
right, but when you're that size, the 15 pounds is a lot, right? Like,
yes,
that's why when you see a lot of times if someone misses weight at lightweight, that person generally wins because you're so oversized at that point, right? Yeah, I just think there needs to be more weight classes, right? That's what I think. I think more weight classes is good for the UFC because there's more belts, and that's the only thing that they care about, right?
Right.
It's easier to make better cards when there's more weight classes. Yeah, I think, and then you have people who truly move around in weight, right? Instead of I'm going to go from 45 to 55, right? No, but it's like, okay, well, I'm going to fight at 55 and 65, right?
Yeah,
you're going to move back and forth.
No, you're 100% correct. Also, you would have less hesitation to do that because it's a really dangerous thing going up from 145 to 155. It only seems like 10 pounds, right? Except for you're not really fighting a natural 155er, are you?
Right.
You're probably fighting a guy who's cutting down from welterweight. And then it would also discourage something that I don't think is the best idea as you get into the lower weight classes. And I'm willing to take pushback on this. I don't think 155ers should be dropping down to 145. And I definitely don't think 145ers should drop down unless you're already at a body frame that supports it. Like if you're a Frankie Edgar, I can see you doing something like that. But the TJ Dillashaw Triple C fight, I don't think any of us expected Dillashaw to look that sucked up.
He was bad. It looks really, really bad.
Like when they came up with the word emaciated, like
they thought of DJ Dillashaw 125. Yeah, I just go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think more weight classes are just more. It's more money for the UFC, right? UFC is very clearly all about the money because they love the super fights now. I think more weight classes just makes it more competitive as well, right? And especially like when someone at 55 is a little older, right? And they don't want to cut to 55 anymore. You have to go to 70 now, right? And you have to go 15 pounds up, which is actually a huge difference. From 55 to 70. I think there should be a 65, and I think 70 should maybe bump to 72. just so there's not 5 pound difference, because I think that's a little bit too close.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, just keep it at 72 or something. I don't know what the boxing weights in there. There's so many. There's too many in boxing, in my opinion.
We like here at Talking with a Dad. We like just enough.
Just enough. I don't need 14, 15 weight classes. You know, I just want just enough. I want there to be, if possible, up to 95 or 205 every 10 pounds would be great, right?
But here's the thing, right? So we're gonna get into it. I agree. It would be more money for the UFC, who apparently is somehow staying afloat as the parent company is about to announce bankruptcy. That's an entirely different thing. Most liquid division of that company, but you need more fighters to accommodate this, right? You need a deeper talent pool.
Okay.
And I just according to me,
you're right.
I could 100% be wrong. I really do think, man, that I know how crazy it sounds, man. I don't think there need to be 3 premier fighting organizations that don't work with each other, right? I don't think the the PFL, which used to be World Series of Fighting, Bellator, and UFC, and then fake Pride. What is this? Fake Pride over there. I don't think these things need to exist the way that they do. It would only take one sitting down to get the boards together. And it's not considered a monopoly because they're not monopolizing the entire whole of mixed martial arts. It's just one organization where you can just finally have enough. Because I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, man, but if I see the same characters fighting over and over again, that's when I know there's a roster issue. And I know COVID's going on, but we've seen a lot of the same faces over and over again on the undercard, which is good for those people. They need to fight. They need to stay employed, but also they're putting more mileage on their bodies for useless fights that aren't advancing them through the rankings if higher ranked guys refuse to fight. So either the UFC starts stripping these guys of their numbers like they did with what is this kid's name that's about to fight
Leon Edwards.
Yeah. At first I felt
that fight's off, by the way.
Is it off?
Chimaev has COVID, yeah. So really what should happen, right? There should be a fighters union. But what's going to happen, and I would say within the next 2 years, is that MMA is going to fall under the Ali Act. So Andrew Yang, who's going to be within the board of Biden, if I remember correctly, has said that multiple times, is that the UFC and MMA needs to be under the Ali Act. So that'll be going forward.
Yang is an interesting guy. That's a kind of a drop the mic moment right there. Did he really say that?
Yeah, he has.
I can't believe that fight's off, man. You just took all the. I know Cash told me the dude had COVID, but I thought maybe he was here recovering. When was that fight billed for? When was it booked for?
Next December.
December, like next week, December, or like
I think the following week.
Oh yeah, he's not gonna make it. But I get what Andrew Yang is saying. If it was ever going to go any further, if we were ever going to get cruiserweights, if we were ever going to get more weight divisions,
it was 2 weeks, 19th or the 19th. Yeah, but this cuts into his training camp, so he can't. I'm sorry, he can't train.
Well, at this point, he's supposed to be tapering off. Right now, he should be going from, like, depending on his gym, like from 2 a days, from 3 a days, to slowing down to like 1 day, one a day.
He can't, but he has to take 2 weeks off of training. He would have to have 2 weeks where he was self-quarantined from training.
No, he's built differently, man. Just give the guy some. What did Trump say he took when he had COVID?
I don't know. Cocaine, I assume.
Let's get him some UV lights and bleach up the butt. But we don't want MMA to go the path of boxing, right? You don't want so many weight divisions and so many different smaller organizations within it. But just could you imagine where we could finally have enough fights on a card where it's like, okay, you can actually sub fighters out? Because I really do. I can't prove it, but I'm starting to suspect that the UFC does have a roster problem. They used to release their roster every year. Maybe some years it was more public than other years, but you would be able to go through it and see, oh, okay, they have 220 people actively under contract with them. I don't think that's something they do anymore, unless you know something that's different. And it's something that could be easily addressed if they start doing recruitment and start pulling in people from the smaller organizations, guys and women who are ready to fight now, and then get them into these divisions. Look what they did for Slevchenko. Think about what her career would have been like if she had to stay at 135 and fight Amanda Nunes for that last time. That's the end of her career. New division comes up. I mean, it's very shallow. I can admit that. I didn't even watch the last fight that she had. I heard it was kind of competitive. Did you watch?
It was way more competitive than I thought it was going to be, for sure. Yeah. Jennifer Maia, right? I think her stock went way up for that fight. She was actually very competitive. Probably the most competitive fight Shevchenko has had since the Nunes fight.
Right.
Probably by a wide margin. It was good. It was very good.
Yeah. But you open up a whole new division, and then you give it resurgence in the career. Now, if you start feeding more fighters into that division, start pulling more women who can make that weight class, it makes a lot of sense. But this goes back to what Zach says. For that to work, you have to do a few other things to make it work. And one of the things you got to be willing to do is you got to be willing to promote your fighters. Now, Slevchenko is a fighter. Where is she from originally, man? I think not the Ukraine.
Russia.
She is from Russia.
I believe she's Russian, man.
No, they do a good job promoting her, man. But they don't do a very good job of promoting other people. So this is never going to happen, man. It's like, for instance, you have Rose Namajunas, right?
Kyrgyzstan.
You have Rose Namajunas. She could technically be a superstar for the UFC. She doesn't fight enough. She doesn't fight enough, but she also has a few issues that make her very hard to work with. Bad example. Yeah. Well,
here's a really good example. Amanda Nunes could be a fucking superstar. Amanda Nunes could be big enough to where she was bigger than Ronda, right? She could transcend the sport. She has everything about her that makes her very easy and very marketable, right? There's so many good examples of this.
And she's a part of the LGBTQ community.
She just had a child with her wife, correct? Who was also a fighter, by the way.
Who's also a fighter, threw some very nice kicks while she was about 9 months pregnant. Very impressed by that when I saw that video, dude. They did nothing. They didn't jump on that at all. They didn't capitalize on that situation at all, dude. Why do we talk about the UFC on these off nights? All it does is frustrate us, man. It just pisses. Here's what I do want to say, though, right?
Okay.
Comparatively, when we look at stuff like organized kickboxing, glory, Muay Thai events, and then we look at boxing events, I think that the UFC is doing a better job in a lot of places that these places aren't. Someone brought this up to me and they were like, hey, you guys trash the UFC a lot, but you watch it a lot. I'm like, obviously we watch it a lot because it's really the only thing we can watch. I watch a lot of.
But we only trash it because we want to see him do better, right?
Exactly.
This isn't hate out of hate. This is hate out of love, right? We want the UFC to be as fun and as competitive and to put on as many and as best fights as we possibly could. This has been a fantastic year of fights. Let's be fair, right? This week's card was an off card, and it was still a very good card once you watch it. It was still very, very good. We don't hate the UFC. We hate a lot of things that the UFC does. We hate a lot of things that the UFC doesn't do, right? Yeah. But ultimately, we have a love for the UFC, and we want to see them succeed. We want to see them. But we want to see them do it in a way that the fighters get paid, the fighters get the respect that they deserve. The UFC puts in the work that a promoter should be putting in, right?
Yep.
And they get away with a lot of things, and I feel like sometimes we're the only people who talk about it, right? We're the only people who say that the UFC doesn't market people. They're terrible at it, right? Stipe should have to fight off fucking movie offers because of what he does and how marketable and how easily it would be to market him, right? The only person... go ahead. I'm sorry. I take those weird long pauses.
No. I want you to finish.
The only person who does that is Connor, and is the only reason is because he did all of his fucking promotion himself, and then was so promoting himself to such a degree that the UFC then had to do something, right?
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing about it, though, because you've said this multiple times. I'm starting to wonder, though, has the fighting organization become too much of a business, right? Because Dana White is technically the head promoter. So that leads me to believe that somewhere there's a marketing team, there's a promotion team, and I know they spend a great deal of money on ad revenue and stuff like that, or at least that's what they tell us.
Sure.
I know they spend
I've
a lot of money.
never seen a breakdown of their books, but
yeah, I know they spend a lot of money on commercial spots. At least that's what they tell us. Let me ask you a question, Zach. When's the last time you turned on? Oh, you don't watch TV. Damn it! Anyone that's actually going to watch a show later, comment in the comment section. When's the last time you turned on Channel 7 and seen this fight happening on the 24th? Doesn't matter if you see it on MSG or if you see it on ESPN, Fox Sports 1. You're supposed to see it on those channels. When's the last time you saw promotion for the UFC on another channel?
Other than their video game.
Other than the video game. So remember, at one point when they were just doing stuff on Fox, I think you're going to agree with me, but if I'm wrong, please tell me so. When they were on Fox, they had more ads per capita than I've ever seen the UFC have.
Sure.
Dude, 42nd Street, littered. I'm talking about one point, literally. I'm not posters, not flyers. I walked past a phone booth, one of those new automated ones where it speaks and like the thing plays, and they were advertising the Frank Mir versus Daniel Cormier fight. That was a huge banner on one of the one of those teleprompters.
Sure.
In 42nd Street, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone knew that Daniel Cormier was coming from Strikeforce, and his first fight in the UFC was against Frank Mir. That's a big deal considering what Strikeforce is and what it was, right? It's not that anymore. And I don't know if I know when companies get bought out, man, and they sell, like departments get fired, they bring their own team in. But I have this sneaking suspicion that no new team was brought in when the UFC was acquired. I can't prove it, but I'm almost positive that team got let go and then that was it. They were just like that. Like the champions walk on the morning shows. You would see Ronda on Kelly and Michael.
Sure.
You would see Daniel Cormier, Kelly and Michael. Amanda Nunes has never been on there, right? She's never been on, as far as I know, she's never been on any of those talk shows. You've never seen Stipe on any of those talk shows. John's obviously not allowed to go on those type of places because of, John problems. But like, you didn't see TJ Dillashaw on there, right? You didn't see Mighty Mouse Johnson. You saw Connor, but he, like you say, he
did it himself. I'm sure in some facet, Connor or one of his team at some point was the one calling and saying, "Hey, we're a champion of the UFC. We'd love to come on your show." Right? I'm sure, or he was so big at that point that it was happening. But like, there isn't that. Right. There just isn't. And it doesn't have to be in the US either. Right. Nunes is Brazilian. Right. She would like get her on a Brazilian TV show. Right. Promote it down there. Get Khabib on. Well, I think Khabib again is so big in Russia that he's on Russian television, but not because of the UFC, but because he's Russian. Right. Like you need to like promote. There's no reason Gustafsson shouldn't have been on Swedish TV, right? There's no reason Weili Zhang shouldn't be on Chinese TV, right? There's no reason that every champion and every top contender in the UFC shouldn't be doing some level of promotion set by the UFC, and not just your ESPN and not just your ESPN radio, right? Like not just that. They need to be in a national, like, public setting, and that's the only way at this point to grow the company further.
No, you're 100% true. And how does this translate into the weight division thing? If you're just tuning in, we're obviously talking about what it takes to get to the UFC, to the place it needs to be to do these type of things. You know what's crazy though? You know, John Jones was on Hot 97. I know someone's going to get mad at me. So they had a black guy go to Hot 97, but that's how marketing works, people. I'm sorry. If no one's ever clued you into how the world works, I'm sorry that I had to be the one to tell you. So they had John Jones go on Hot 97. This is before his championship match against Shogun Rua. And it did really, really well. You know why? Because a lot of African Americans didn't even know that there was a kid who's on his way to becoming a champion for the UFC. Not the first African American champion, obviously, but on his way to becoming a crossover sensation.
Sure.
They've moved away from that with and it just doesn't make any sense. Now, in regards to the different weight divisions, another reason I really want to see this happen, I've been thinking about it for years, is to save fighters from burnout, right? I really do think, man, that you look at a guy like RDA's career, man, you got to respect what he was able to accomplish. Became champion. Yes, he lost the belt to Eddie Alvarez, went up to 170, went up to a more dangerous division, arguably at the time, fought way bigger guys than him. And I don't think he needed to do that. I don't. I think if there's another decision to make, you obviously don't push him. He can't make 145. He's not going to be able to beat Khabib because, you know, Khabib was coming at this time.
Sure.
Conor had just made his introduction into the 155 division, but everyone knew, you and I both know, we all knew that Khabib was going to be champion at some point, and Khabib had already beat RDA. So if you drop, even if you did decide to drop a division like a 165 in between welterweight and lightweight, that gives a guy like RDA a chance to actually maybe comfortably compete for the first time. So there's some detractors who are going to say, well, who says they have to be comfortable? Well, I would say this. Medical science says they should be safe at the very least.
Sure.
You put yourself in danger every time you go lower or you go higher. Let me see you have enough balls, be RDA, and go in and fight a Kobe and fight Kamar Usman
in a division he doesn't belong in, right? Cowboy's another great example from 55 to 65.
Yeah,
I think Cowboy it struggles to make 55 in some facets, but he fought most of his career there, right? Now he's up in the 70 to 85 area for whatever reason.
Idiot.
Yoel Romero making 85. You know, he should be a 95er or a 205er truly, but 95 to be fair, because I think he's a little too small, like a little too short to be a competitive 205 because those guys are huge. There's a lot of that. DC should have never cut to 205. Although he looks like if DC was truly like okay about his weight and was really dedicated, he probably could have made 85. Let's be fair.
He's a small man.
He's a small man. He is, right? It's just truth, and no hate. I love DC. I love watching him fight. But a 225 division, he would have killed at that, right? Or Gustafsson would have excelled at a 225, right? Like something like that. You allow more breakout stars. You allow more titles, which is what the UFC sells their pay-per-views on, right? I just think there's no downside to having 3 more divisions.
So now, if we're playing devil's advocate, the one reason I believe that they don't do this stuff is because they don't want confusion on the belts. Because Dana, coming from a boxing,
what do you mean? What do you mean confusion on the belts?
Oh, don't get mad at me. Now, I know exactly what you're going. What is the one thing the UFC does extremely poorly when they can't figure out the next pay-per-view? They're like, well, let's make I almost called it an intercontinental belt, but that's from wrestling.
Right.
Let's make an intro.
Let's make a fake title, right? Yeah. Let's do something that I could put a belt on and do it. And there needs to be 3 more divisions, 65, 95, 225.
Yeah. I think this is the crazy thing about this whole situation, right? A lot of people hate Bob Arum, and I'm sure that old man has done some horrible things in his life. I'm sure he's done some good things by fighters in his life. But the one thing that he doesn't have to worry about, that Dana has to worry about, is he calls the shots, right? This fight's going to happen. This fight's going to happen. I think that there's probably a lot of red tape that we don't see, but I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that they can't sit down and go, hey, we need to fill our ranks and we need to make new belts. If you can make an interim belt, for the love of God,
for the champion time for the lightweight division.
Yeah.
Like, why can't there be a 65? You know?
So, you know who famously and articulately said this? Nate Diaz said it, the urban philosopher himself.
Correct.
Come on, man. We just put it out 160. I'll fight him at 160, which I took to mean that Dana, Sean Shelby, this is me, Nate, calling again. I don't know if you guys have acquiesced to my request about there possibly being a division in between these 2 divisions, but I think it would be quite responsible. I think I'd do extremely well if I had the opportunity to prove myself there. Another thing is, Cowboy probably would not have lost so many fights to body shots had he been fighting at the right division. I know he's a skinny guy, but getting kicked in the ribs when you're fighting at the wrong weight division, dude,
has to suck.
Oh, man. You know what? I really do think I'm going to reach out to Backyard Fights. What's it called again?
Street beefs?
Street beefs, man. I think I'm obsessed with this, man. Could you imagine our first street beef?
Listen, we could do an event. I'm sure we could do an event. Just have them pre-record it, send it to us. We'll do it.
I was gonna send you one the other day, but I was like, he's not gonna watch this. It was literally I turned on YouTube, and it was a guy in a karate gi in a street piece video, and I'm like, watching it.
Yeah, that's an instant click. You got to click that one.
But then I realized when I clicked it, I'm like, wait, he's got a white belt on. This is gonna be horrible. It went as well as you thought, man. I'm just kind of burnt out right now on the business practice of UFC, man. I'm not looking forward to the Ultimate Fighter coming back. I have a huge thing against the Ultimate Fighter, and I don't have the same feeling towards the Contender Series, but I think the Ultimate Fighter, while giving the opportunity to fighters to grow,
they're two different things, though. The Contender Series is a feeder organization to the UFC, right? Using the UFC's name.
They get paid.
They do. They get paid. Yeah. They probably get paid a rookie contract. The Ultimate Fighter is a reality show.
Yeah.
They're in a different realm. The Ultimate Fighter, for all purpose that it has, is very good for the UFC because, again, it does the marketing thing that we complain that they don't do, where they get themselves in front of and on more TVs to people who wouldn't have watched fighting to begin with. And that's where the UFC is lacking, in my opinion. They tried it with the video game. The video game sells to the people who watch the UFC. They need to work on being more mainstream. I thought they were going to do really, really well with ESPN, but the only thing that it did was bring more attention to other fighting leagues, in my opinion.
So the crazy thing about the Ultimate Fighter is I agree with everything you just said, except, well, you didn't say this part, but I feel the same way about the Ultimate Fighter that I feel about college level football, not basketball, college level football. You put the same amount of wear and tear on your body for no pay, right? For the hopes of something great happening. And no one's forcing any of these kids to go into this situation. But I want you to know that the second woman that Holly Holmes fought in the UFC tried out for the Ultimate Fighter. The Belizean Sensation or something her name is. And she is too old. She was considered too old by Dana White to make it into the Ultimate Fighter. Ultimately made it into the UFC. But imagine if she would have made it onto the Ultimate Fighter. So I believe she was 36 or 35 or something like that when she tried out. I don't know how old, but she goes into a scenario where she's doing basically 2-a-days to fight, cut weight, live in the same house with other fighters, dealing with all that drama, only to get injured. And then that could potentially be the end of your career. And the UFC is only going to pay so much of your medical
if you're not assigned fighter. Right.
Like
they don't pay medical for most of their fighters as it is. Let's be fair.
I think they have health insurance. I think every fighter
ask Mike Perry that.
Really?
Because according to Mike Perry, remember when he messed up his nose really bad? According to Mike Perry had to pay for that.
Well, I mean, come on, it's Mike Perry, man. Do we believe everything he says, or
no? Very little of it, but I seem to have believed this because it's anti-UFC. Fits my agenda very well. Yeah, I don't know. More weight classes. That's it. I think that's a huge thing. More weight classes, more marketing.
I think more weight classes, more marketing, and then hold on for a second. More weight classes, more marketing. For the love of God, man. For the love of God, more ESPN cards. I don't think there should be 3-4 pay-per-view events like back to back to back. Like that last pay-per-view event.
There's one pay-per-view a month.
They've squeezed 2 in there in a month, and it's always the second one where it's like, well, why did we need this pay-per-view event? I think that their best promotion is doing the free cards, but I know that requires them paying fighters without there being a pay-per-view buy. But maybe you sacrifice a little bit to give the fans more exciting cards for free. Just think about how much the price of a pay-per-view event has gone up for the UFC. It's steadily gone up about $2 a year since I've started watching. Pretty soon we're going to be at a square $80 for a pay-per-view event. More weight classes, lower pay-per-views, and then obviously, I mean, they got to offset their money with the gate. Who knows when we're ever going to be able to get to a live event again, if ever. But I think that's the best way to go, man. Honestly, I think they should dump more money into the Contender Series and just not bring the Ultimate Fighter back. Just leave it with Dana looking for a fighter and the Contender Series. Have you ever watched Dana looking for a fight?
No, I have not.
All right. Besides all the stupid hijinks, watching Dana have to drive a go-kart and all that shit, I don't really like watching billionaires have to do, not billionaires, but a millionaire do fun things I can't afford to do.
Millionaires. It's the same thing.
To Zach, once you reach a certain amount of millions, it might as well be billions.
I don't know. I mean, at some point, 100 million versus a billionaire, right? What's the difference in what you could do and what you can achieve?
That's a good point. That's a good point, man. Jay-Z's net worth is $510 million.
Right. And what can't he do that like someone with $1 billion could, right? Or could, right?
Save his promotion company. Oh, if he had $1 billion, he could probably save Tidal.
Doubt it. I doubt it. Right. Like to save a company is a very expensive endeavor, and $1 billion probably wouldn't be enough if it's failing that hard. That's it.
Yeah, that's it, man. What do we got coming up, buddy? What's going on in our not too distant future? Obviously, we're promoting the next Street Beef event. We'll reach out to their people and no,
we're not doing anything. We don't have anything. We don't have anything planned at the moment.
That's why I love being your business partner, Zach. You get right to the point. Like I would tell people, we may have to lay people off of you. Like, listen, stop listening to him. 85% of you do.
There's no reason ever to beat around the bush. There's no reason ever. We don't have anything planned at the moment. Shows Mondays and Fridays. Be here. Sometimes the stream starts at 9:45. Sometimes it starts at 10:30. Who knows, right?
Zach, I'm gonna pull my. I love you, man. If this is the last time I see you, this has been great.
Tell the people where they can find us.
Oh man, you can find us chiefly Discord. Discord link is in the YouTube. Will be in the chat, not the YouTube chat, in the description of this video. Facebook, Instagram, Talking with a Dad. Twitter, Talking with a Dad. If you ever guys want to send out some questions for us to answer on show, send it to Discord. Come join the groups, join the conversation. Love to have you.
Have a great whatever time of day it is for you.